Hi guys, and welcome back to Their Voice, Their Story podcast. My name is Shaneka.
My name is Shazza Charlene. I'm Charlene. Where my dog's at?
Okay.
No, wait,
You got a special guest today called.
Hi guys, I'm Jonathan.
Thank you, Jonathan, for joining us today.
Short and sweet.
And we are going on to question number 1.
Guys, why are they ignoring me?
Charlie, can you answer?
Why are you ignoring me?
Can you ask a question?
First of all, guys, I just need to say, you didn't let me do it.
Okay, go on.
I just want to say that this podcast, first and foremost, despite all the jokes and laughter, is a podcast to empower. Why are you doing things?
I can't deal.
Empower, build confidence. Okay, I'm joking. All right, so we're going to need to get straight into it. We've got a lot to unpack today with our lovely guest, Mademoiselle. Oh, wait, what is it?
Monsieur.
Yeah,
Monsieur.
Oh, with Monsieur.
Oh, gosh.
He's French. That's why I was trying to be, in touch.
Yeah, you said Mademoiselle. That's cute.
Yeah.
Okay, that's why I changed it.
Okay.
I didn't pass my French GCSE.
I can tell.
Clearly.
Look, we've got a cool concept, guys. Okay, so
Oh, my God.
we are going to get right into it with one of my very, very, very good friends for a number of years now. I've put up with so much and I'm just, grateful. No, you don't agree? I've put up with a lot. You'll see what I've been putting up with. So I'm going to go straight in. We're going to do a couple of questions. I think let's ask our guests some questions first. Or
Okay.
Yeah, go for it. Ask Jonathan a question.
What title would you give this chapter in your life?
Ooh, I like that question. Don't know. I'm gonna need a minute. It's an interesting year, so I would say breaking boundaries.
Wow. Sounds powerful.
Yeah. Breaking
Can you
boundaries.
elaborate on that? Or why that is?
Why? Quite simply, I feel like that's the stage I'm at in life. Just breaking boundaries and doing things that I've never done before. Learning, growing, expanding, and yeah.
I love that for you. That was my American accent, if those didn't know. Okay, I've got a question. Shall I do you? Or
Yeah.
let's give you a minute. Collect your thoughts, have a sip of juice. Shaneka. Oh, lip gloss. Sorry.
My God.
Okay, these are serious questions.
All right.
Are you going to answer seriously?
Well, what kind of question is it?
Okay. How are you really?
What?
You heard.
How am I really?
How are you? ... Really?
Like, how am I feeling or how?
Just how are you really? Like, not I'm fine, I'm good, I'm okay. Like, genuinely, how are you from the pit
Of my stomach.
of your soul?
I'm itching for success.
Does that answer the question, guys?
Yes, it does.
I feel like you've got some inside info that you want her to just.
How am I really?
Yeah, because I feel like, how are you really? That's a question.
What do you think I am really? Like, really? We talk every day and it's always, I need to make money. I don't understand.
Yes, but that's not how you are. That is what you want to do. But how are you?
Oh, how am I?
As in, genuinely.
I think right now, honestly, I am relatively content. Aside from money, I need more money.
so Nigerian. My girl said money. I wanted some deep.
Yeah, that's deep.
She said money. I want money.
I want money.
Okay, first. Okay. Do you want to ask me? And then I'll ask Jonathan.
Okay. You only gave... Okay. What lesson took you the longest to learn? I think you spoke about it today, actually.
Did I?
I don't know if you've learned it, though. But...
What was it?
We touched on something in our earlier conversation today.
Yeah.
You were saying, like, yeah, we think that, like, it's time to start...
Yeah. Do you want to say?
No. Do you not remember the conversation?
I genuinely, we spoke about 99 times today. So I can't
remember. No,
What was
well,
it?
okay, maybe
No,
you
say
answer
it first.
and I'll tell
actually am
you.
intrigued to know.
No,
Right.
but then if you say it, then you might influence her.
Yeah, so you
Okay,
say
so
what
after.
you, and then
Okay,
I'll tell
what
you.
lesson?
What lesson took you the longest to learn? I don't know if you've learned it.
Oh, okay. To be honest, I don't know if I've learned it, but I'm learning. And to be very honest, the lesson that took to it's the Asti.
Yes.
The lesson that took me the longest to learn would be I am in a very bad habit of saying yes to everything. On my wall currently in my room, I have a list of things that I want to do personally. One of them is say no if you want to. I have a very bad habit of not wanting to let anyone down. So I feel like I say yes to everything despite not necessarily wanting to. And I think recently I've learned that the people I love the most are saying no to me. And I just feel like, wait a second, pause. And I realised that I can't be upset or defensive because it's my choice. I've decided to say yes to everything. And that meant that I expect people to do the same for me. And then recently, when people have been a bit like, oh no, I'm tired, I've been thinking, sorry, what? What do you mean? Because I'm always tired.
Yeah.
But it's made me realise that, one, I can't be mad at them.
Yeah.
Because at least they have... What's the word I'm looking for?
Well, it's their choice. Ultimately, it's their choice.
Yeah,
They
but
don't
yeah,
have to.
and they have balls to say no. And I feel like I'm always just like, yeah, okay, because I never want to upset anybody. But I feel like I'm learning this year that actually, if it doesn't make sense for me at that time, I should be able to say no, and the people that love me should be able to be okay with that. So definitely for me, it's being able to say no. What are you guys like with saying no? Wait, I don't... This guy says no whenever you want to say no. That's a fact.
No, that's fact. But I want to ask you, why? Why do you feel like you don't want to let them down? Like, where does that come from?
If I'm real,
Getting
I think it's probably like it probably stems from some type of insecurity of wanting to please everybody so that I'm still that person for everyone. Like, if I now start saying no, what if I now stop becoming that? Charlene's always there for me. I can always call her. She's my rider. And then it's a bit toxic, isn't it? But part of me feels like if I now start saying no, one, I feel like I'm going to disappoint.
Yeah.
Two, it's going to feel like they're going to start being like, oh, you used to be there for me. Now you're not there for me.
Yeah.
And if I'm honest, part of me, I feel that a lot of my joy comes from making other people happy more than myself.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that's healthy.
It's not necessarily healthy, but I can 100% agree with the feeling of making someone happy is good. And it can become quite, I'd say in some ways quite addictive, especially when it's appreciated. So you can almost get caught in this realm of making people happy, even though it doesn't necessarily serve you or it doesn't necessarily make you happy, but the fact that you've made somebody else happy. I feel like it's a learned behavior. And I feel like I can say that I think it comes from serving in church. If I'm really thinking back to it.
Yeah.
Because before that, no, I wouldn't. I was actually not very giving, to be honest. But in church, we learn to serve others, do for others, give to others, help
So
others.
are we then now saying that we should abandon that, or that we need a balance?
We need a balance, I feel like. I'm not saying everything that everyone asks for, say no for no good reason. But if it's really going to inconvenience you, then no. Okay. Charlene I love her. She's my friend. And she knows I'll do it. But Charlene's like, she can tell me she needs her hair done. I've worked a 12-hour shift from 7:30 a.m. till 8 p.m. I'm not getting home till 8:30 or 9 o'clock. And I will stand there for hours at 9 o'clock and do her hair, knowing that I have to get up at 5 a.m. the next morning and I have another 12-hour shift. That's not a balance. The answer to that should be no, because I've got work the next day.
Well,
let's
not be
hasty. You need an
not be
adequate
hasty.
amount of sleep, do you understand?
Yeah.
In order for you to function. But because it's been almost like, I would say, it's been taught. Give, serve, do for. That you kind of get into the habit of just doing, giving, serving others. You think less of yourself. You think about yourself less and about your needs. And ultimately, your first port of call is others. This person needs me. This person needs that. This person needs this. Do this for them. Do that for them. And growing up, it was kind of taught that when you do for them, God will bless you. Do you understand? Mm-hmm. So the more you felt like you were doing for others, psychologically, you feel like the more God is going to bless you. Mm-hmm. Do you understand? So it just became like a continuum. That's just what you got used to doing. So I feel like by default, we're just used to it. And it's difficult to come out of that because it's a learned behavior. And when you've learned something over a long period of time, it's difficult to undo that. Even at times where it's not convenient for you. There's things that I've done where it doesn't make sense. To the normal person, they're going to say, I'm not doing that. But for me, I will bend over backwards. I'll get home at 1 a.m. I will drive for miles on end. I will just so that it's like, you're okay. So
I listened to, a couple of months ago, I was listening to a podcast. And they were having a conversation with Steve Barnett and then the author of the book Start With Why. Brilliant book, by the way. So if you haven't read it, check it out. And they were talking about, what was the topic again? They were talking about, listening. And he said something that struck with me because I thought that I was a brilliant listener. And he said, well, listening, you can actually gauge how good you are at listening when you've got someone in front of you that you don't want to listen to. And that's the key. Are you able to just sit there and just fully listen and not say anything, not listen to respond, not listen to counteract, but simply just listen, even when you don't care? And I think if you apply that concept to giving and helping, it could be the same thing, because it's easy to be helpful when you've got the time, when you've got the energy, but how helpful, like obviously you're still helping, but can you then be classified as a helpful person? I'm not saying that you should always give up all of your time and all of your resources and inconvenience yourself. But I think if you take it, and obviously we're all Christians here, so if I'm a billionaire, and then I give money to charity, and then let's say I have an average salary and I give money to charity, well, who's giving the most? See what I mean? Yeah. So there's also that to think about. I think it's important to find the balance whereby your energy isn't completely lost and drained, but that you can still help others even when sometimes you don't want to. It's just about finding out when. And sometimes helping the other person isn't helping them in the way that they want. Yeah. It's helping them in the way that they need.
Yeah. I always need my hair done. Let's not. No, stop. I feel like we're gonna
No,
leave this
stop.
podcast
I'm
and
actually
she's
not
gonna
doing
start
hair
saying no,
anymore. I'm
Jonathan,
not.
please. At
I'm
this
not.
point,
I've
we're not
decided.
talking about hair things.
Go and
by
find
the way.
hairdresser.
I have one.
On that note,
Okay.
no,
so
guys, let me just no.
wait.
Before, let me just ship that in. I actually paid a hairdresser £180 to do my hair, and within 2 days, my hair was ruined.
Are you just hurt?
I'm very hurt. £180. When
It's a lot.
I've done my hair myself now, and was 10 times better than what she done. I'm so angry. I paid £180.
No, it is.
Like, can we need, I'm not saying now, but seriously, the hype on Instagram, it needs to be dead. Like, a lot of Instagram girls are doing the most, and they're not producing £180.
Maybe that's something you should go into.
Exactly.
What?
Thank you very much. Because she can do hair.
It's a lot of work. Hair is
So
very
she
time
wants to
consuming.
see how her
And
tone
it took me a lot. It took me a long time to do my hair, but I'm so pressed. Like, inside me, it's burning. £180. She said she's gonna, like, she'll clip, but what's that gonna do for me? I have to now travel back to you. I live in Kent. She lives in London. To come for you to, like, who told you I have the time for that?
Sorry, guys. Shaneka's upset about an incident.
Sorry, I am.
And she had to get it out.
Sorry, I did.
We'll be her counsellor. Firebomb the hairdresser that done it. No, joking. Just joking. Was I? What am I doing?
You,
Jonathan. I've got a last question for Jonathan. Okay. If you could get...
Did Jonathan ask you a question?
No, he doesn't have any question.
Oh, okay,
Sorry. If you could get to know someone in your life... Sorry, you can't say me. If you could get to know somebody in your life on a deeper level, who would it be and why? Not me. He wants to say me.
I'm going to say it's a bit of a weird question because I feel like everyone I've wanted to get to know on a deeper level I have. What would you mean by a deeper level?
Well, for example, like a deeper level. So, for example,
female, male, career.
So, for example, I know that people that I've asked this question to in the past have said things like their mum or dad or, you know, a sibling or a best friend, like anyone in your life that you feel like I would actually want to know you more than I do currently. Not say you're not going to, and then why?
I don't have anyone.
Oops. But ain't
Because I feel like
what?
Yeah, because all the people that I know that are within my circle. First of all, I have a circle. Right, I've got a little circle.
And some of the people in the circle are questionable.
I have a circle, and the people within my circle I know pretty well. And if you're not in my circle, then I don't really
have a desire to get to know you
on a deep level.
Yeah.
That seems like
fair. But you would have said me.
Because
that
that question, I will answer this in a second. That question implies that there's a
question mark.
No, it's like you're unable to get to know that person. It's either someone that you've just met or someone that's keeping you at arm's length. And
no, I wouldn't say so. I feel like sometimes in life you're close to people, but everyone has a boundary. So sometimes, you know, there could be a curiosity about someone that you are really close with that had you had the opportunity, you would like to know a bit more. No? Okay, moving on swiftly. All right, so
when are you born?
When I was born.
Oh, we're not doing star signs.
The month. December,
okay.
Are you in the whole...
No, I'm just asking out of curiosity.
So he's a...
Capricorn.
Yeah.
Oh,
why do you know star signs at that level?
I don't.
You just was able to say.
No.
He was.
I don't know what he's talking about.
What the heck? What? Since when did you become?
No, to be honest,
What
I know
does
quite
it
a
make
few
sense based on like how?
No, not necessarily, but
Okay,
I know
cool.
quite a few people that are. So I just,
But what about him made you want to ask?
I was just wondering, just out of curiosity.
We're not into star signs, guys. Disclaimer. Okay, so that brings me on. So, right, very quickly, before we get on to today's topics, plural, we're going to just fire you with a few questions. You're not allowed to think about it. Just say the first yes. The
Okay.
first thing that comes to mind.
Okay, it's gonna be interesting.
So, is this or that? You're just going to say one. No context. Don't ask me depends. Why? What?
No, that's like
This is the worst game for someone like you. But you have
absolutely,
to
yeah, because
but you
it's
have
just
to
mad, and you know me well, so I don't
yeah,
even
you
know
have
why.
you have to just go with it.
Cool. Okay.
So I'll ask if you.
But then, are you then allowed to ask me why after?
Yes, if I feel like I want to,
So okay.
but you can't think about it.
Right.
Where
right,
it comes
right,
to mind.
Right. Cool.
I'll do a few. She will do a few. Day or night?
Night.
Text or call?
Text.
Permission or forgiveness?
Forgiveness.
Spit or swallow?
Context.
No,
I need
there's
context.
no context.
Spit or swallow?
Just you gotta just say one.
What is it? Juice?
Whatever comes to
Spit
mind.
or swallow?
Swallow.
Surprise or planned?
Ooh. Surprise.
Win the lottery or find a soulmate?
Find a soulmate.
Bad breath or bad body odor?
Bad body odor.
Be embarrassed or afraid?
Be embarrassed.
Group or one-on-one?
101.
Loud or quiet?
Quiet.
You make me sick.
Logic or emotion?
Logic.
Of course.
Passion or stability?
Passion.
Cherished or respected?
Cherished.
Success or happiness?
Happiness.
Growth or security?
Growth.
Soap or shower gel?
Soap.
I feel like I know you a bit more from those questions. Actually, may I say?
Really?
Yeah.
Which ones were you so surprised
I
about?
was surprised that you said.
Swallow.
No, I wasn't. I was actually surprised that you said logic.
Why?
Logic over what?
Because it makes, or emotion, it makes sense you'll say logic. But I feel like when you're in something, I feel like you'll be very emotional.
Oh yeah, absolutely. 100%.
Yes, so then why
Yeah,
did you
but
say
on the grand
emotion?
scheme, it's logic.
Yeah, because I will be logical first. And then after that, once
Then
I'm
you-
confident with the logic, then let the floodgates open.
Okay.
Sorry.
You just
this
asked me, was
Sorry,
Jonathan
guys.
the one I was
is like
trying to come up with?
What's it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Just ask it.
Blind date.
yeah,
You're stupid.
Cinder black. You just actually dribbled on my...
On purpose, because you're being annoying.
I was surprised with some of those actually. Was you surprised with any? Just genuinely. Do you know what? Success, happiness. I would have said happiness, but the way you are, I would have thought you said success.
why?
Because you're so like...
Yeah, but there's a reason I'm so like this. Because ultimately, for me, that leads to being more happy. So the goal is happiness, isn't like
Okay.
money or yeah.
Fairs.
What country are you from, Jonathan?
I never know how to answer the question.
Oh, really? Why?
Yeah, you know, because I was born in France. Parents are from Ghana. So it's like when people ask me this question, I don't know. It's like, do you mean originally?
Oh my gosh, now
do you
you
mean?
said France. I think I
You
can
hear
clock
the
the
accent.
accent.
Yeah,
He's Ghanaian but French.
yeah.
Wow.
French Ghanaian.
That is so
Can you
interesting.
speak to us?
So how was France?
Wait.
How?
No, wait. Can you just say
No,
a few
just
words in
continue
French?
No, that's one word.
It's
What do you mean by
annoying.
how was France?
How is France? How did you find it growing up there? When did you come to the UK?
So came to the UK at the age of 15. France is very different in the sense that it's a lot more conservative
Oh
than.
my gosh, I can really hear it now. Oh my god, this is so cute.
Calm down.
Yeah, France is a lot more conservative than the UK.
Okay.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Oh really? In what way though?
They're thinking.
Oh really?
Give us an example. Exemplaire.
Yeah, like how people dress, the type of things that you can do, that you believe is possible for you to do. Like here, for example, you've got lots of young people starting up businesses. It's like they really, go after their dreams. France is a little bit different in the sense that you go to school and then you get a job and you stay in that job pretty much, most of your life. It's kind of like changing a little bit, but it's very slow.
Oh really?
Very slow, yeah.
So you said you came here when you was 15?
Yeah, 15.
Oh wow. It's interesting.
Okay. So, what's interesting about it? Just because he's French.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's different.
I don't
actually.
think I've met
I've
a
not
French
actually.
guy.
You're my, yeah, me neither. It's my first
And
actual
not
French.
like some that you can actually hear
Oh,
the
actually, no.
accent.
I haven't.
Like,
I worked hard on that. I'm disappointed that you can hear it.
oh really?
Yeah.
Oh really?
Yeah. When I first came, I went to a sixth form. So it's a bit strange. So it's like secondary school is 4 years in France.
Okay.
Oh.
So
Just
you
4 years?
Yeah. So you do
Fine.
you do your GCSEs in year 10 essentially.
Okay.
So when I came here, I would have been in year 11, but my dad worked at the school. So then they put me in sixth form straight away. Yeah. So they put me in sixth form, and that was in an all-girls school, the lower school, but then the sixth form was mixed, so that was mad. And so I'm learning English.
Do you want to tell us some stories?
Oh, guys.
Come on.
And this is what I mean by France is so much more conservative. I used to get chased. Like some of the girls used to chase me, simply just, you speak French, and like you knew there's a new guy. It was wild.
They used to chase you and do what?
Yeah. Just to talk to me, and like I first of all, France is very conservative. Grew up in a conservative household. So now I felt like I was thrown in like the lion's pit. It was just crazy.
That must be bad.
That was wild.
So was interacting with girls quite difficult?
Not difficult, but
You got sisters.
yeah, different.
Really?
Yeah, very different.
So were they expecting things from you that you
Not so much expecting, but they're very
forward?
like the girls. Yeah, exactly. They weren't shy. They were not
really?
shy at all.
But you're used to girls being quite shy.
Yeah, just a lot more. Like in France, girls would be a lot more reserved.
Okay.
Yeah, not as outwardly.
Really? Like
Yeah, that
I
was my
know
experience.
some French girls on. So the girls.
Yep.
But from like the French girls that I know, they seem very advanced, very freaky, quite frisky.
Yeah,
So-
perhaps now. Yeah, absolutely. But back then, that was not the case.
Oh really?
Yeah,
I thought French girls.
and of course here I'm like, I'm
Kiss.
speaking generally.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, Jonathan. No joke. Right. So obviously, on this podcast, we've said it loads of times before. Obviously, our purpose is to try and encourage, empower. Our whole thing is we don't want to be a typical podcast. We're just talking for the sake of talking. Our whole thing is to drive thought. We want people to start thinking about things and potentially have a new way of doing things and a new way of approaching things. And something that I feel that has been bothering me for some time. I say bother. I don't know if that's the quite word. I don't know if that's the right word, but something that I felt like we needed a male guest to discuss. Me being somebody that has children, and obviously my relationship didn't work out, and then obviously I then had to move on. One thing that I feel that in society, it's like a common, like it's a conversation that not everyone's willing to have. And not everyone's willing to be honest about it. And I went out to lunch with Jonathan the other day, and we was talking, and we did actually touch on, you know, a man getting with a woman that does have children, and what that kind of means for the man, or the expectation even. For me, I don't know if I'm a bit narrow-minded or full of myself, but I kind of see it as...
Definitely full of yourself.
No, I kind of always looked at it until you brought a different perspective, actually. I've always kind of felt that actually I may have children, but I bring a lot to the table. So should I encounter in something, I feel that it doesn't matter that I have children. Or not even that I have children, but maybe if we don't talk about myself, but I've got friends that maybe have multiple fathers of their children, and we looked at the prospect of, does that make you less desirable? And in my eyes, originally I was kind of thinking no, because everyone's allowed to make mistakes. Sometimes we get with the wrong people, and Jonathan's perspective at the time made me think, have I missed something? So what do you guys think? Do you think that, you know, there is what could a woman expect? Because personally, I feel that it doesn't matter. But I know that that's not everyone's perspective.
I want to hear what you've got to say on that topic first.
I want to hear what you've got to say on that topic. You good.
No, ladies first. Go ahead. What are your thoughts? Should it matter?
I think if you genuinely like the person, I wouldn't say that it doesn't matter entirely, because whether we like it or not, having children does have an impact. Okay.
In what way?
It has an impact in many ways. Number one, if the father's active or not active, that can have an impact. Financially, if you're willing on, like, if you're planning to obviously blend the families together and live together, that's going to have an impact. Yep. Time, it has an impact on your time, the length and the quality of time sometimes that you get to spend together, depending on what level of support is coming in. You know, can we get babysitters frequently so we can spend quality time together? Also, the ages of the children, like, how old are they? Are they able to, you know, look after themselves essentially, or is childcare involved? You know, will the child feel like they need to look at the guy as a father figure, or do they actually have a father figure? I think it can be quite difficult. But
okay, so if we remove obviously we know that every situation will be different, but generally, do you think a man with no, which is more directed to you, I suppose, but a man with no children, for example, do we feel like, what do we think that potentially they should, it's a big ask, or how can I better describe it? As in, like, what's your, because for me, I just feel like, I'm sorry, but
I let me conclude. I don't necessarily feel like it's a big ask, and I don't necessarily feel like the girl should be made to feel like, or the guy should make the girl feel like he's doing her a favor. But if he genuinely likes her, then I feel like he should be willing to, and he wants to be in a relationship with her, then he knows the package beforehand. He should be willing to accept that and to move with that. It's not now that you've accepted it that you should be now making an issue out of it, when you knew that my children were there from the get-go. I didn't hide them from you.
Completely agree with that.
But I suppose it's his choice whether he decides to accept, like, this is what he wants or not. Some guys are mad, like, will just say no, I'm not interested.
So there's a couple of things. So there's one thing understanding that you've got kids or knowing that you've got kids, and it's another understanding what it's like to be with someone who has kids or to raise those kids. And that's the thing. A lot of guys that are single, they've got no clue because they just get up when they want. They do what they want. So they start dating someone who has kids, and they know that you've got kids, but the reality is that the majority of the time the kids are going to be with the mum, not with the father.
Yeah.
So they don't understand why you don't have as much time as they do. Like when they want to take you out, they want to be spontaneous. You can't because you got to look after the kids. You got to feed them, look after them, cook, clean, all of that jazz. Take them to school, and that then turns into a frustration. And then some of the girls will be like, "Well, you knew that I had kids. Yeah, I knew you had kids, but I don't know." Because remember, even in a committed relationship, like when you've got a man and a woman who love each other, who have kids, the majority of the time, the man doesn't fully understand the extent of what it is to actually look after the child. Like if simple example, leave your child. Do you have kids?
Yeah.
Okay, leave your child with the father for a day. They will be belling your phone all the time because then it's a lot. So if you've never experienced this and all of a sudden you're with someone who's got kids, I knew this, but I didn't know. I didn't know. Like I've got 2 nieces. And from time to time I take the eldest and I look after her for like a couple of days. I'm mash up by the end of it. When I drop her off, she's 5.
Okay.
When I drop her off, I'm knackered.
Okay, what's your perspective on getting with a woman that's got more than one father of their child?
It's really it's hard to say because you've got to think about, I think it's every man needs to decide that for themselves. Like speaking for me, that would be something difficult because not only do you have one child, but then you've got multiple, and it's not just one father, it's like multiple dads. And it's like, okay, yes, failed relationships happen, but there's like circumstances. It's like, what happened? Were you married? Was it just...
Do you think it matters if they're married?
100%.
Why?
100%. Because that tells me a little bit about the choices that you make. And yes, you can change, but the reality of the situation is every action has a consequence and you've got to live with it. So as much as you can grow and then you can change and you can learn, those kids are there forever. And that will be a constant reminder. That will be, and also, let's face it, a lot of the guys are very insecure. Like we are very, what's the word I would use? We're very egocentric. And we are territorial. So, got kids, fine. Multiple dads, like, now I've got 100 questions. How? Why? What happened?
So if it just didn't work out, met someone that I thought would work out with, didn't work out again.
So then, and then the question is, were you married the first time? Were you, or were you never married? And then it's like, okay, well, how old are the kids? How old were you? What was going on? Do you seek validation in men? And then decide to then perhaps, like it's not necessarily a problem. It depends. Again, it depends on the individual. But all of these things it's just information that's good to know. And then from there, the man decides what he wants to do with that information.
I feel like he would be a good person to ask the next question based on some of the things that you've just said. Like, this question, me and Charlene have spoken about so many times, and we are not guys, so we can't really decipher it or decide. But why don't men leave?
Leave what?
A relationship.
When it's not working?
Yes. What is the true and honest reason as to why men... I have my own personal opinion, which I'm going to say, and I believe that you're going to agree with me. You might not, but I believe that you will.
Okay.
And I'm hoping that a guy is going to stand up one day and say, actually, that is actually the truth.
When you say the relationship is not working, What does that mean?
It could be a marriage. It could be whatever. Like,
No one's happy.
no one's happy. Why do men not leave? I don't genuinely believe that it's the hope that
In fact, most women, I think there's a very high percentage. I think it's in the 60s or 70s. It's actually women that file for divorce.
Correct.
Yeah.
So,
Why is it that
men
men
would
don't
normally
leave?
be the reason why. Why do
Yeah,
men
but
never-
then you're talking about men leaving, and you're saying the relationship is not working from whose point of view?
No,
like,
the
say
men,
the
like,
man
but-
cheated.
Like, not even the man has cheated. We can clearly see that the relationship is not working. I feel like in a lot of African
What does that mean, though?
cultures,
What does that
it's
mean?
not working in terms of, like, we're not communicating as we did. We're not functioning as a household as
No
we
sex,
did.
it's not happy.
The sex is gone down. He's probably out, God knows where, till what o'clock in the morning, come home, doesn't sleep in the bed, sleeping on the couch. You know, all these type of things.
Is that a reason to leave?
Pardon?
Is that a reason to leave?
I'm not necessarily. You're answering a question with a question.
Yeah, because
That's
I
not
need to understand. I need to understand the
what I'm-
context. Because if you say, "Why don't men leave?"
that
It's not
If a
working.
relationship,
not happy.
if you're not happy, and you can clearly see that the relationship isn't working, majority of the time it's the woman that will get up and leave and say, "I'm done." Why is it that men do not leave? Personally, I believe that men are insecure, and it's their own insecurities that doesn't allow them to leave, unless there is someone else.
Okay.
They will leave and move on. If there's somebody else in the picture, chances are they will leave. But if there's not another person in the picture, the fear of them being alone or being without someone will rather cause them to stay in that relationship than leave that relationship and be with no one.
Coupled with-
I think you're projecting women's way of thinking or doing mentality on men. Men don't do that.
So what do men do?
Men don't do that. The majority of men, like it's I hate to say this, but it's a fact. Men have more options than women do. There's more women out there than there are men.
Okay.
That's number one.
Okay.
Second thing is, the moment you are in a relationship, you get DM'd. Like, women will slide in your DMs because you're taken. The amount of, like, I know a few girls who are constantly roaming around married men. You become more desirable if you're married,
Yeah, I agree with that.
or if you are in a relationship. So guys have options. They're not staying because I don't have options. They're staying for other reasons. The other thing that I was going to also mention is that
So what are the reasons?
we'll touch on that. I was going to say something, I forgot. That's not the reason. So
Cowardly, maybe? I would suggest that coupled with insecurity, I feel like men sometimes can leave, not because of lack of options, but I think they are afraid to leave because they're cowards. They can't just say, I don't want to be with you.
And also they're scared that the other woman or these probably girls that they've been entertaining will get to see the real them and will not accept them in the way that the other one has.
no,
The woman that they're with currently knows their financial situation. They know how they handle money. They know that, possibly...
Do you know why I don't agree with you?
Why?
Because there are multiple examples of men who have nothing, not a penny to their name. Girls will go out, take loans, buy some cars for them, open up their homes, let them move in. Like, men are shameless when it comes to these things. Like, men know you look good, you can talk good, you dress well. That's it. That's all we need. So it's got nothing to do with we are ashamed. No, we don't think like this at all. The reason I was asking what are the circumstances is because could it be that the guy actually truly loves you?
But then,
And
what
he
if
doesn't want to leave because
What if he
you're
cheated
his
then?
world?
Yeah, but you're his world, but he doesn't want to... So...
No, wait, pause, wait.
But this
Wait,
is
wait,
why
wait.
this is why we need to just it's hard to talk about specific things, okay? Like about a specific situation. We've got to talk generally. But if you do talk generally, you need to then give me the context, because otherwise...
Okay, let's say generally people say every man cheats, which I don't believe in, of course. So let's go with the assumption that a guy that cheats, why not just leave and do what you need to do?
Because
why
he's happy
stay?
where he is.
But can you be happy if you're cheating?
Okay.
It doesn't make sense.
So then you've got to tackle, then what you need to tackle is, why do men cheat?
Okay.
No, you've moved on to the second question. We haven't concluded on the first.
But
why don't men leave? Why don't they leave?
It's hard to answer this question without answering, because if it's about cheating, then it's like, why do men cheat? Why don't they just leave? That's a better way of thinking, because otherwise we're looking at it backwards. Why don't they leave? Well, I don't know. Maybe he just loves you. That's why. Just loves you to death. Doesn't want to leave.
Wait, the communication is shit.
Yep.
The sex is shit.
Yep.
You
He's sleeping on the sofa. You're not coming to bed.
Because let's be honest. You stress a man out enough, he will leave. I lie? If a man wants to walk,
think so.
No. If a man wants to
Men
leave,
don't leave.
Listen,
No, they leave, but temporarily. They leave and then come back.
because you're his world. If a guy does not care about you, he's not sticking around. If a guy genuinely doesn't care about you, he's not staying. The biggest thing for man is peace. If I'm willing, to stay around and allow you to give me a headache, I'm not doing this
But
for no
you know what's
reason.
annoying about that statement? Women, I don't feel give headaches. I think it's just society's become in a way that you guys are expressing how we feel is almost not allowed. Because the minute we express how we feel, it now becomes you're a headache, you're moaning, you're complaining. But how about, it's not a headache, it's not moaning, it's not complaining, it's just an expression of feeling that we should be allowed without feeling bad for doing so. I had a conversation with one of my friends the other day, and we was talking about her and her partner, and she was saying that she was talking to her partner and he was saying, oh, but then why don't you encourage me more? And she was like, because the minute I do that, you will then turn it into I complain too much. And that's reality. It's like, we say something once or twice, it's like, oh, you should have said it. You should have really... Then the minute it's now become, oh, you're a complainer. How can we win?
Listen, first, again, we've got to talk in general terms. Right?
Yeah.
Because otherwise it's really difficult. But... no, I was going to say something, but...
No, say it.
Say it.
Listen,
Say it.
the way...
Are you saying that?
This is your voice,
I've just met you.
Are you
but
saying
the way
Charlene
Charlene nags and just like...
I don't know.
Can I breathe?
Oh,
I know?
really? Is it intense?
2 or 3 weeks later, right? Charlene will come back, bring back the same story.
Charlene, is that you?
I'm not a nagger. I'm a realist.
Okay, you're in a relationship.
Yes.
Right, committed relationship.
Yeah.
Do you give him a headache?
No.
Call him right now.
LaVoy's a nice
not
guy.
at
Call
all.
him right
I
now.
could call him right now.
He's a nice guy.
No, but no, I'm not saying that you giving him a headache is a bad thing.
But I don't.
You do. You 100% do.
Ask him.
You do.
Here's my thing.
But this is
I feel
wait, this is the beauty of it. You are giving him a headache, but because he loves you, he's like, fine.
No.
I'll take it.
Here's the problem.
You think it's not a headache?
Expressing how I feel should
Right.
not be classed as a headache, because then what that does is it makes women feel that we can't say how we feel,
Yeah.
and then in turn that means that either I'm going to hold it in my mind and resent you at some point,
Yeah.
or I feel like I can't talk to my partner, so I'll talk to someone else. Why are we not allowed to say, oh, I don't like the way you left that there?
No.
And it not be a problem.
You're totally allowed to do that. And you should be able
But
to
then
express
it's classed
yourself.
as a headache.
No, that's not a headache.
So what's the headache?
That's not a headache. It's
What's the
it's all about communication. What I mentioned about Charlene, 'cause I don't know for quite a bit, is that when you something's happened, you talk about it, fine.
Done.
But you then feel the need to remind me of this thing on a regular basis, like, 2 weeks later, you're still talking about this.
No, but it
and
depends.
I believe
Charlie,
that
2 weeks later, you're still talking about this.
and I believe
2 weeks later.
that we'd moved on from that. But no, you see it as like, here's another opportunity for me to remind you of this, so that next time you don't. Now this is what I call nagging. If you're upset about something, let's talk. Let's sit down. Let's talk. Fine. But then, if in 2-3 weeks' time you're still talking about the same thing, reminding me about this,
they gotta know when they gotta know.
then it's just like,
Nigga, you ain't getting off.
Okay.
what was that term that you used? Because we've had that conversation with other people before, and you were saying that you've got to almost G-check the guy. What was it? You were saying something like you need to just...
Charlie, you G-checking, nigga.
And
No.
then it's like...
For me, I think it's very important. It's very important for your partner to understand you. It's hard to talk about specifics. We're talking about generally.
Yeah.
But I do think it's very important, because I feel like the type of person I am, my partner needs to understand who I am. And I feel that is when you'll get the best out of me, I'll get the best out of you, and then our relationship will flourish. Because I feel that when you don't get me, it can look like headache. But when you understand me, because when I'm committed to something and I'm gonna love, I'm gonna do it properly. So if I'm willing to do it properly, I'm not into a lot of nonsense. So it's a lot of my friends will mock me, make jokes, But for me, it's like no. The reason why I can say this and do this is because I know what I will bring to the table and what you're gonna get from me should you comply.
Do you understand him? And does she? Okay. Does she? Because a lot of women say, "I want the guy to understand me."
No, but I
agree.
take time
I
to understand
completely agree.
the man as well.
I agree. Do you though?
I do.
Because that's the thing. Because there's a lot of perceptions. Like, I think I know what he wants. I know what he needs.
No, I don't
And it's
assume.
like, well,
I'm
actually,
into hardcore art skin. And for me, a lot of men don't want to be expressive.
So,
and that's
so
on you.
what do men want?
You guys are confused. You're confused.
We want peace. Peace is the biggest
You
thing.
say you want, okay.
Peace.
You say you want peace.
Yep.
Explain them why a lot of men cheat.
Okay. So there's different reasons for that.
Okay.
Right. So number one, there's peer pressure.
Okay.
And I think we pretend that after a certain age, peer pressure doesn't exist anymore. It absolutely does.
I
Yeah.
think so.
So a lot of men do things that they don't want to do. They do them because they think it's the right thing to do, and it makes me more of a man. So like very egocentric.
Okay.
So that's one of the reasons.
Have you cheated before? John?
Never.
Have
There's
you Shaneka?
No.
there's also insecurity.
Hello,
Sorry.
baby.
There's also insecurity. Yeah. So some men will cheat because they are
Why
insecure.
haven't you cheated before?
There's no need to cheat.
So would you just leave? If you wasn't happy,
This leaving option is like mind blowing. Because if I'm choosing to be with you, because it's hard, I'm leaving. Like, that's wild.
So
Okay,
are
so
you saying
flip
that-
that.
so
do
why-
you think people should never leave then?
Leave to go where? To do what? Like, why are you leaving? The
You're
question
not
is
happy.
why. But see, this is the thing. You get in a relationship, and like, because relationships are hard work.
yeah,
Yeah,
I agree,
Fir-
100%.
First
Okay.
month, first couple of months, honeymoon period. Yeah, it's great.
It should last forever.
And then after that, when life
Should.
happens, when real life begins, you got bills to pay. You wake up, you look at them, they've got, trust in their
In the
eyes
eye.
and all of that. Now you're like, oh, I'm not happy. It doesn't feel like, I feel like, things aren't the same. Of course not. You were living a fairy tale. Now real life begins.
Okay.
Are you going to be happy every day?
Yes, though.
No.
Why not?
Because
Why can't we
sometimes-
normalize being happy?
Because are you happy by yourself? Yeah. Forget the relationship. When you wake up, are you happy every day? No.
Yeah.
No, you're not.
No, there's a difference though. Circumstance happening today don't mean you're not happy. It just means I'm sad for this specific moment. But you are happy still.
So, okay, explain to me unhappiness in the relationship.
For me, unhappiness is when you can't get back to. So it's like, I think it's okay to sometimes be like, okay, this person's annoying me or irritate me for a said period of time. But I think it gets to a point where your unhappiness is now mentally affecting you. Mentally, you can't function, you're sad, you're crying. Emotionally, it's impacting your day to day.
Spending too much time on Instagram and TikTok. Looking at couple goals.
No, just how you feel.
I don't know.
You don't
because,
think you could be...
Because what's interesting is it get back to. It's almost
like
as if you're trying to move backwards. No,
not move backwards. But for example, for me, I don't believe in honeymoon period. I believe that buzz or spark can last as long as you both want it to. As long as both people are making the same amount of effort, you're going to keep going. It's when people get relaxed and stop making the effort.
There we go. So if you're unhappy, don't leave. If you're unhappy, get to the place where the both of you... Because if you're not communicating... 100%. If you're not communicating, why not? If he's not making an effort, why not? Well, like, what's stopping him from making that effort?
That's a question
if he's choosing not to, and if he's at the stage where he's actually not looking to communicate and to actually make things better, because if you're feeling it, he must be feeling it too. If it's bothering you, hopefully it bothers him too. If it doesn't bother him, then clearly he's checked out of the relationship. Like he's just, and then of course that's done. But if he's here every day in your space, because let's face it, it's not comfortable to be with someone, see someone every day, and maybe if you're living together, it's not comfortable to be in the same space as someone and things aren't great. It's very uncomfortable for the both of you. So why is that taken? Let's sit down. Let's talk. Hey, babes, what's happening? What happened?
You're making me angry.
Why?
No, but
because that's not okay. Realistic, because men don't do that.
No, some do.
No,
some
majority of men
majority,
don't
but
want.
some do.
Yes, so the majority
So
is
can
what
we
we're
call
talking
them
about.
men or boys?
Well, is the majority of our species boys then?
But then,
Well,
but then
maybe they're
have
not
you
mature
also
enough.
considered that maybe they don't know how to? Because that's the thing, right? A lot of women will get with someone, and he's doing all these things to win you over. But once he's won you over, they stop because he doesn't need to anymore. But
That's
but
problematic.
the things that he was doing, that's what you fell in love with. But is that actually who he is? And that's why, segue, I don't like dating apps. Because you meet someone, and then all of a sudden...
He's single.
All of a sudden, you're doing all sorts to try and win them over. And it's great, and from both sides. And then after that, when real life begins, I don't need to bring you flowers no more. I did that the first month.
Yeah, but I think that's... to be honest though...
And then I actually don't really know you.
I'm not into that though.
Yeah, dating sites.
I'm not into that. Not even dating sites, but I feel like when I'm getting to know somebody, I'm getting to know you, and it's not an opportunity for you to do your best because...
Okay. You want better men? Yeah. Stop choosing wrong. Because what women are showing is if you give me attention, you buy me gifts, you take me to expensive places, I will be happy. So men will just do that. If you say to a guy, if a guy wants you and in order to get you, he needs to know how to communicate, you're going to get someone who can communicate. And then when there's issues, then I already know how to communicate. So it's easy for us to fix this. But if all I know...
It's true, because a lot of women these days are into, can you pay for everything? Can you pay my bills?
Pay for the
Can you buy... I don't want to do
this,
50-50. You know, all these...
It's all things that are not really sustainable. When you get into an actual relationship, those things are quite menial to a relationship. They're good maybe like during the dating stage, but in an actual relationship, what it takes to sustain it, and that's not what's going to sustain it. So
okay, so how do you feel? Okay, so essentially, when it comes to women and with children and stuff, you're saying that you got to start considering their choices, and so on the same line of choices, women that choose to do surgery, for example, what's currently popular, like getting BBLs or lip fillers and stuff. Do you think that is wifey material.
Would you personally be with someone who is modified?
It
Man
depends.
said modified.
I mean,
It depends. It
on
depends.
what?
It depends on what's been done.
Right. So what is a no-go and what is
It's
okay?
it's not so much about the procedure. It's more about the extent that you've gone. So because that tells me about your mindset. So it's all context. Let's say you because I have a friend who's okay. Never left the country, has a child, left the child at home to go and get the surgery done. Now, that, I don't know, child would have been, I think, maybe 5 at the time. Wow. Something like that. Now, that did a lot for her confidence. She's a lot more confident now. So I understand why she did it. I get it. But then that tells me about your mindset.
What does it say?
That you don't, what's the word I'm looking for? You don't low self-esteem. So it's information. It's information. Everything you do is information. And then from that information, that tells me a little bit more about how you think.
You feel in terms of like, would you, women that have modified or done whatever it's they need to do for whatever reason, do you think that makes them any less of an option for you?
Or
No, not necessarily.
So
Not
for
necessarily.
what reason would somebody modifying themselves be an okay reason for you to continue to pursue them?
Right. It's not so much black and white. Like I said, it's information. And the more data I have about you, and then I can couple with other things, then that paints a picture of who you are.
So, for example, let me just give you a very wild example. A girl sexually abused when she was young, develops into low self-esteem, you know, probably had a lot of relationships, but it was not necessarily, you know, love. It was more like to feel accepted. You know, then goes and decides that she wants to get her confidence. She does her body. Now, you know, she's, like you said, feeling more confident. She's quite ambitious. She's doing okay for herself, career-wise, etc. Her mindset has changed. She's not really dwelling on the past. She acknowledges that, you know, this is what she experienced. And probably that is what has led to, you know, her feeling that way. Are you considering?
There's nothing wrong with that.
Okay.
Yeah, it's all context. It's like, okay, you've done this. Interesting. Why? What's your mindset like today? And then from there I can kind of like, you know. Yeah.
Okay.
Do you think, slightly moving away from that, black men's mental health is considered enough in relationships?
Do I think women are considering the mental health of black men enough in a relationship?
Or we can say generally.
That's a big question. In what way?
Whatever way suits. Can you get your foot off me?
I can't say. It's hard because, like, how would you consider someone's mental health in a relationship?
For me, I think that it's really about asking the right questions, making sure your person's okay, make sure they're that they feel that they can communicate and express themselves without feeling like, would you cry? Okay, would you cry in front of your partner? Is it because of, I feel like
I wouldn't go and hide and cry.
It's considered to be not masculine to maybe express yourself with tears or in a particular way, and then that like makes me feel like, you know, if men can't express themselves or cry or do certain things like feeling feminine, mentally, where are you guys at? Because if you've got a hold on a lot of your emotions, because you're,
What is obsession with wanting to see men cry? Like, I'm trying to understand.
I don't want to see you cry, but men, I don't see why a man doesn't need to cry. There must be times where you need to cry. Right, when was the last time you cried, boy?
Don't remember.
That's wild.
Well, actually, no, it isn't.
Depends what's the like. Why does he need?
Yeah, exactly.
What is
Like,
it?
am I
Has
watching a
something
movie and then?
No, not necessarily, but just in
Yeah, but
life,
what
there may
event
be
has
times
happened?
where
just
you.
because we've had sad times doesn't mean everyone
No,
has.
but not that. I just feel like I'm not saying there's a time frame, but the fact you can't remember, do you think you're suppressing anything?
No, I'm
There's
very
other
emotional.
outlets, I think,
What?
other than
I'm very emotional.
Jonathan,
I'm very emotional.
behave yourself.
I can cry and command. You want me to cry?
Find out for our trailer.
oh my god. So, what other ways would you say that men express their pain other than crying?
How do you guys like? Yeah,
I don't understand this line of questioning. I'm not
Like,
gonna lie, it's weird because
I'm a mental health nurse, and I experience
most of the men in there,
encounter
black young men.
a lot of black young men
Mm-hmm.
in mental health services.
yeah.
I have to be honest.
And it's actually said that
quite largely. Go on.
it's actually said that black men are 5 times
Yes.
more likely to be
commit suicide.
diagnosed
Okay.
than a white man.
But why? Like, no, not why. Carry on about the men that you work with.
Okay, I must admit, largely the number of young black guys that I encounter is due to drug abuse,
Okay.
substance misuse, but not all, not all is due to substance misuse.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, some have identity issues.
In what sense?
Like, okay,
What,
they
gender
might be
identity
trying-
or-
gender identity might be trying to identify
Them,
as
they,
gay,
there.
Okay.
you know, etc. There can be a lot of different dynamics. Largely, I think stemming from home childhood.
What's wrong with the home and the childhood?
Like, you know, this is going to sound so controversial, what I'm going to say. Like, I feel like, especially in black homes, majority of the time, children are not allowed to express themselves.
Boy children.
Even girls, boys, largely boys, but you're not allowed to express yourselves in a way whereby if you're upset about something, going to your parent and telling your parent that this is what you're upset about at a young age, it's almost like you're not allowed. So either express yourself that
Have
you're
you got
upset
brothers?
about this, or you're not allowed to say that you're sad, or even if there's something that's happened, your opinion doesn't matter. What your parent says goes,
matters.
which I get, but hearing a child out, hearing what they have to say, I feel like is equally as important. Personally, I feel like a lot of black men's mental health stems from childhood issues. I largely do.
How you've been raised.
The things you've been allowed to express.
What you've been allowed to see.
What you've been allowed to see, what you've been allowed to, because I know there's in certain cultures, you're beaten for crying.
With a stick.
No, forget the stick.
But then-
like, what, you can't tell a child,
Because-
shush, don't cry, or smile now. Bro, I'm sad.
I don't want to say.
Why am I being told to smile? I am sad, and that's my emotion right now. I need to express that emotion. I'm being told, don't express that emotion. Smile.
I don't want to say that that's not the case, but you've said black men,
Yeah.
which is a general term, and then
Yeah.
you say in certain cultures they are beaten. So
Beaten.
yeah, not
Yeah.
allowed to express themselves, like when they cry. So I don't want to say that that's not true, because that's clearly happening. But I'm just wondering, why there's so much of a focus on black men's mental state.
I feel like in general, personally, black is seen as stronger. Even in my career, white person encounters a service. Yeah, she's sad because of X, Y, and Z. Will draw on a lot of financial issues, marital issues, bereavement, stress, this, that, and the other. A black woman, it's almost like the expectancy to be able to deal with a certain level of stress is higher.
Okay. What was your question earlier? Oh, is there a question?
So essentially, the question was talking of, I'd said relationships, but I don't mind it being whatever. But I was saying, do we think black men's mental health is considered enough? Let's say in society.
And the reason why it's black is because I feel like we are considered largely to be stronger than any other race. Sorry to have to say it, but a Caucasian person can call off sick because their cat has passed away.
Not the cat. Not the cat.
No, I get that.
If I call in and tell them that my cat has passed away, I can give a real live example. About 3 weeks ago, I was in a car accident. Car accident to the extent where both of my airbags came out. Like, my leg was so badly bruised, my back, excruciating pain. I messaged my manager. I sent her pictures of the crash. Furthermore, I don't know why I need to send you pictures of my crash, because me telling you that I'm in a car crash should be enough. But me knowing how you are, I have to give you evidence so that you don't feel like she's milking it, right? I've sent you evidence of my crash. 2 days later, you've messaged me, are you coming to work? You've seen the extent of my crash. You've seen the airbags in my car. 2 days later, you've messaged me, are you coming to work? 10 minutes after that message, you've then messaged me, are you okay? Why didn't the are you okay come before the are you returning to work? Because generally, you think that, so what, whether she's experienced a crash or not, it's just a crash. She can withstand it.
How would you like black men's mental health to be considered in society then? Like what should be done?
I think it should be more okay for black men to be able to say how they feel without being classed as, like I remember there was a musician, I can't remember which one, but he came out just to express, the difficulties of being in that industry. And the comments and everyone was basically just suggesting that, man up. You knew what you was getting into. And I feel like, no. Why can't a man be like... I feel like women, I know that obviously we're the weaker vessel and we're allowed, at some degree. Because let's be real. Do you want your man... Someone made a very valid comment at one point, and they said, if your man come to you and was crying every night, are you going to respect him? Shaneka. It's a question. That's the thing. The fact you have to think about it is the problem.
Depends what he's crying about.
His day was a tough day. He had a tough day and he's crying.
No, don't cry. Please don't cry.
He said, please don't cry.
Please don't cry.
That's obviously also part of the problem. Me too, though. Generally, you want your man to be like, So if you're crying,
so you're part of the problem.
We are part of the problem, and but this is the problem though. That I'm part of it, but I'm also happy. But
we're open to why.
I can also realize that why though, Charlene. Why is that a problem for you? It's a conditioning that I'm happy to change, because I feel like
why is it that we're expecting? If a Caucasian guy is crying,
have you got Caucasian friends?
Charlie
Because we're having this conversation, and I would be interested to know how a Caucasian female would feel if her Caucasian man was to come
Hugging
and
him.
cry.
Hug him. I feel she'll hug him.
I don't know.
I can't lie. No,
I don't know.
I don't know.
can't
To
say
be
yes
honest,
or no.
I've had a lot of Caucasian friends when I was younger.
Oh, many.
Shut up.
I just said many.
And I feel that, there was one particular friend I
Bridesmaid
had
and all.
that I went, she's not white.
So what is she?
She's mixed.
No, she ain't mixed all the crap.
Okay. Anyway, I've had a white friend when I was younger, and I used to go to her house, and her parents, the mum was a lot more accommodating, I feel, for the partner than I would experience in my black friends' households. And that can look different in everyone. Every space is different, and obviously we're generalising. But I do feel that from what I've experienced when I've seen, which is not a lot, but I've seen a few households that are, Caucasian households, and I feel there's a lot more patience. And I think a black man is not extended that same patience. And I think black men themselves also feel like they have to be... Like, for me, a question I constantly ask my partner is like, do you feel under pressure? Do you feel... Like, I ask these questions. Why are you smiling?
It doesn't believe that you do.
I ask these questions because I'm conscious of... I know that I have high expectations, but I also know the world has high expectations of black men. So I'll constantly make sure he knows that, I'm okay with where we're at. And I'm only here to encourage. And I never want to come across as, I'm very conscious of, are you okay? Even just before I came here, I could just tell that he's obviously had a bit of a rough day at work, and I was able, and I could sense that. And I feel like it was okay. And I don't mind letting him know that, babe, are you okay? Like, you can speak about it. And I think that there needs to be more of that space of, it's not a matter of, because my immediate thing, if I'm being real, my immediate thing was going to be like, excuse me, I'm about to go record my first podcast. Do you want to just say good luck? My first thing was to be a bit like it's about me. And I wanted a bit of like, cheerleader vibes. I wanted to walk out the door with everyone saying, woo. I didn't get it. I was just like, hey. But as I was driving, I thought, actually though, it's okay for somebody to not feel 100% you to ask. And then what come from that is that whilst he then was able to express what happened at work, he also then obviously gave me an encouraging message about today. And I feel that had I now just come in and was like, so you couldn't even say my hair looked nice, you couldn't even say, we now may have had some conflict. But I took a moment to say that actually it's okay for me to say, make sure he's okay too. And I think we don't really give that, I don't feel like, enough. I think the expectation is go to work, make enough money, make sure the bills are paid so you can take care of your family, which is okay, but also emotionally work can be draining. And it's okay to check in and make sure that your person's okay. And I just don't know how often that's done. Amongst men, how often do you not get together and have a real moment? I just don't think it's considered masculine. Like, one of my friends called me yesterday on a FaceTime and was crying.
A man?
No, a female.
Okay, right.
On a FaceTime.
And that was okay because
Crying.
yeah.
On a FaceTime.
Yeah.
Oh.
Because it's like, as women, I feel like you can express with your closest people, and it's just something I'm trying to learn to do, and it's something I actually envied, because I'd rather cry by myself, and that's not healthy. If you know people, because I feel like if you know people love you, I should be able to go to my friends when I'm sad.
It doesn't
I
necessarily
know
mean
they're
you
going to
have to.
uplift you.
So-
no, but I should be able to, but I
I don't
don't.
necessarily need to cry with you. I can tell you what I'm going
No,
through.
but I
and you
don't
can
know. But I
uplift
think
me.
sometimes if
I
you're
don't need to come on a whole FaceTime.
no, but
to
if
be
you're
crying.
sad, and I think that's why sometimes that mentality is at your detriment, because sometimes I feel that there's times where I know I'm really sad and I do need someone with me, I do need someone to uplift me. I need you at that moment of my saddest to say, Charlene, it's okay. But my pride I don't even know if it's pride or how I've grown or how I've watched my mum won't allow me to do that. And I envied it because I thought I need that sometimes. And I won't let myself. And the other day, one of my friends messaged me and was like, Charlene, are you okay? And they said to me, don't say you're okay when you're not kind of what you're like. And I thought, I'm not okay, actually. But if you didn't say that, I would have said, as I was typing, I was about to say, hey girl, I'm cool. But I wasn't okay. And I feel like your closest people know that is what I need, because I'm not good at just coming to my friends and being like, guys, I'm happy to go on and on and on. And I feel that it takes, I think it takes a strong person to be able to let you know I'm at the bottom and I need to be lifted. And as women, it's kind of accepted that amongst us, we can all kind of find that person and that space to be like, bro. But as men, I don't know how often you guys are able to do that same thing.
You guys don't really, you wouldn't really
not necessarily
crying
crying,
and be like,
not crying,
this is what I'm going through.
But like, just if you're
so
sad.
where's the out? That's why I asked earlier, what's the outlet? Obviously, not necessarily crying, but when you as a man is stressed, if you have a significant other, are you likely to speak to your significant other about your stresses? Or not really? If not, are you going to go to your boy? Like, what is the outlet?
Release.
For men, we as girls, we know things that we do.
So men are a little bit more logical than women, by and large. Mm-hmm. If I'm stressed out, if I'm upset, I might have a conversation with my boy. But the majority of the time, it's about that thing is bothering me. I need to find a solution to it.
Do you think that affects your mental health? Because, for example, if there's a problem that you have or there's something that's stressing you out and you can't necessarily find the solution straight away, or even if you can find the solution straight away, you might not have the resources or what you need to solve that problem right there and then. Do you think that affects you? And if it does, what's your outlet? Or do you think that men often end up bottling it and then kind of like just finding a way to deal with it on their own?
I don't know. Have men told you that? Because I don't find that.
What? You feel like there's always a solution and answer to all your problems?
I call my friend when I need to. He calls me, he comes to check me when he needs to.
Okay, so you have
and the majority of the time it's like, right, this is how I deal with things. This is stressing me out. I need a solution. What is the solution? And even if I can't act on that straight away, the fact that I know a way out, then I can, One of the things that annoys me the most is when I'm going through something on my mind, something is bothering me, and someone's like stroking my shoulder, telling me it's going to be okay. Like, okay, yeah, it's going to be okay when we find a solution. I don't want to sit and talk about and cry about, how do you feel? No, it's like, no.
Caloric.
How do we get out of this?
Yeah.
And then if you tell me it's going to be okay, cool, that's fine. But right now, and that's just me, I don't know how other men feel about this, but yeah, you just doing this and like, that would annoy me. Like, no, I need a solution.
Stop.
And then so that's how I would deal with it. But I don't have a problem talking about my emotions, about how I feel. I don't have a problem with that.
That, to be honest, I don't know if that's the majority, but guys, I feel like there's so much to unpack.
But at the same time, men are not women. We're not
that
like
is something
women.
Also we clearly have to
that's
establish
another thing.
at some point.
Men don't want to sit down and just.
But you
talk.
know what, men say that.
Because sometimes what men
You're
just want to do
lying.
is have a good laugh, talk about something else, watch some football, play some sports.
That's just because that's what's expected.
Is sex a reliever of stress for men?
No.
I don't think so.
No.
Oh, really?
No.
I don't think so at all. Why did you?
So what is it?
Finding a solution to the problem.
Okay.
Well, sex is just sex, no?
What do you mean sex is just sex? Sometimes guys use sex as a way of relieving tension, no? Nope.
No.
Okay. Interesting.
I don't think so. Anyway, I feel like this is the start of so much we've got to unpack. Obviously, our time is limited. We want to be able to come back and continue this conversation. Hopefully, Jonathan will come back again and we'll be able to get a bit deeper.
Yeah.
This was surface. This is the beginning of the journey, again, to encourage and inspire.
Oh my God, guys, this is a teacher.
But anyway, we've been their voice, their story. And again, we hope that you guys will like, comment, subscribe, support us in our journey. This is, you know, putting yourself on a platform, expressing your views, sharing your story. That is always going to come with some critique. How to say it in French?
Critique.
Critique.
Let's say it again.
Critique.
Critique. Oh, let's close in French.
Yeah.
Can you tell us to say? Guys, I don't know how to speak French, but just for the sake of the podcast,
Definitely doesn't.
we just want you to let us. How do we say? Thank you very much for thank you very much for watching. Please, can you like, comment, and subscribe? Merci.
That's a long.
Yeah, just say it and we'll copy.
Okay. Merci.
Look at our beautiful people.
Merci beaucoup d'avoir regardé. N'oubliez pas de cliquer like et subscribe. Merci.
Woo! I can't copy that, but
I can. Merci.
No.
Subscribe and comment. We love you guys. Thank you for being here with us.
Thanks for having me.
We'll see you guys on the next one.
Love y'all.
We've
See
been
ya.
their voice, their story.